Very good afternoon, all, and welcome back to our session on heat transfer. So, for last couple of lectures, we have been discussing the cases of heat transfer under steady state with internal heat generation. So, on Monday, we started our study with some standard and simple cases. In that lecture, at the beginning, we saw the heat transfer, rather heat conduction under steady state condition with internal heat generation for three standard cases such as heat conduction through plane wall, then heat conduction through solid cylinder, and then heat conduction through solid sphere. Okay, and those were the simple and standard cases because there was a physical symmetry about the geometry as well as for the temperatures, and conditions were quite simpler one because the temperatures on either side were the same, so heat transfer coefficients were the same, and the same fluid was involved. Because of that, those are said to be simple and standard cases. Uh, then on yesterday uh, we went on to discuss some more modifications. We changed the conditions to the simpler cases and went on to discuss the difficult cases. Okay, so as we go on changing the conditions, what will happen is uh, the problem or situation will get little tougher and tougher. Okay, so yesterday we saw the such case where we analyzed the heat conduction through the plane wall when the wall surface temperatures are different. When wall surface temperatures are different. I hope my voice is clearly audible and audible and very uh, loudly reaching to you. And I am started the screen sharing, so it should be visible to you. So these were the just a minute, I think. No, yes. So the standard cases were these, such as heat generation with internal heat generation at the uniform rate within the plane wall, with same fluid temperature and same wall temperature on both sides. This was the first standard case. Second case was solid cylinder with the same fluid temperature on both sides. So there was a symmetry around it. Then third case was solid sphere with same fluid temperature surrounding the sphere. Okay, so because of this, what happened is we obtained some geometrical similarity for the heat transfer rate as well as for temperature distribution. Then we in the yesterday's in the yesterday session uh, we covered the cases where we changed the conditions. So this was the case where we changed the condition that wall temperatures will be different on either side. Wall temperatures will be different, and we saw what change occurs in the derivation, and due to that, uh, what changes we have to undertake for the boundary conditions, and we arrive at some other different solutions. Okay, so based on the same case, we solved one numerical problem. Okay, uh, we solved this numerical problem by applying the same theory where wall temperatures were given and those were different. Okay, in the same manner, now we are going to add uh, some more some more changes to the basic case. Now this is going to be the case for today's discussion. Once again, any one of you, please give me confirmation. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Any one of you can give your confirmation, say yes or no. Are you able to see the screen? And is it easily and clearly readable and visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So as you can see and read on your screen, this is going to be application of Poisson's equation. Poisson's equation is a general basic equation. Application of Poisson's equation when temperatures of the fluid surrounding the solid object on either side of the wall are different. Okay, so now the condition is fluid temperatures also are also different. In earlier case, at least fluid temperatures were maintained same, so we had some simplicity, or the level of difficulty was easier one. But now, as fluid temperatures are changed, their heat transfer coefficients are also will change, and the wall temperatures will also change. Okay, so we have some more additional complexity involved in this case. Okay, rest of the conditions remain same. That is one dimensional steady state heat transfer with internal heat generation, with internal uniform heat generation. Okay. So as you can see in the diagram, again we are viewing at the cross section of a wall, of a plane wall, having the thickness B, and this thickness B is very very small as compared to the height of the full height of the wall and full width of the wall. Okay, width is not seen here. Width will be the perpendicular to the plane of this paper or plane of the screen. Okay, so we are looking only at the cross section. So we are interested in what is happening in across the thickness of the wall. So B is the thickness of the wall. Now, as shown in here, Q bar be the rate of internal heat generation at the steady state, and then this is the internal heat generation. Now what will happen on either side? There is a fluid, and fluids are at different temperatures. On this side it is TF1 temperature, on this side it is TF2 temperature. Okay, for time being we do not know anything about their relative values. Where it may be TF1 is not equal to TF2, this is certain, but TF1 is maybe greater than TF2, it may be less than TF2. Okay, it is not known to us. Okay, so arbitrarily we are showing here, so some TF1 and some TF2. In the same way, we are going to have different wall temperatures, TW1 at this phase and TW2 at this phase. Again, again TW1 and TW2 values will depend on TF1 and TF2. Okay. Again, their relation is not known. TW1 may be greater than TW2 or it may be less than TW2. Okay. But for time being, we are assuming some arbitrary, some general form of temperature profile and and heat distribution. Okay, so whatever under steady state, what will happen? Whatever is the heat generated inside in this plane wall is going to be distributed as shown in this diagram. Some heat will flow through the left face, and remaining heat flow will take place through the right face. Let us say Q1 at left and Q2 at right in this direction. Okay, so at the face it will be by conduction. It will be by conduction, and under steady state, when we apply the energy balance, so Q bar will equal to Q1 and Q2, Q1 plus Q2. Okay, so this is the physical condition of a given case. Now we will take on to the derivation. Derivation is as usual. We have to first put up a differential equation, general differential equation. Then we will integrate it twice, and thereby we get some constants. And to evaluate those constants, we have to apply the boundary conditions in a proper manner. Okay. So consider a plane wall of infinite length and having thickness B. Let TF1 a fluid temperature on this side, on one side, that is left side, and TF2 the fluid temperature on the other side, that is on right hand side. So then TW1, so wall surface temperature. Now we are treating this left face at the origin. So let us say it is x equal to 0. Okay, so the coordinate system is starting, or the counting is starting from this face. So x is equal to 0 means the left face, and at x equal to b, that is across the full width of the wall, there will be a right face. So these are the two boundaries. So TW1 is the wall temperature when x is equal to 0, x is equal to 0, and TW2 is the wall surface temperature when x is equal to b. Okay, Q bar as shown already shown in the diagram. So it is a rate of heat generation. It is a volumetric rate of heat generation. So the units will be watt per meter cube, that is per unit volume. Then let us say for fluids, fluid on left side and right side as heat transfer coefficient having H1 and H2. H1 at x equal to 0 and H2 at x equal to b. Now we know the one dimensional Poisson's equation. This actually comes from the generalized differential equation in a Cartesian coordinates in 3 dimensions. Okay, as we are considering only heat transfer in x direction, that is we are limiting ourselves to one dimensional heat transfer. The terms containing y and z are not appearing here. So dA bar square T by dA by x square plus q bar by k. So this is internal heat generation equal to 0. Equal to 0 means it is a steady state. Okay. So as usual, we will take on to the process of mathematical derivation. So dA bar square T by dA by x square is equal to this shifted to right. So minus q bar by k. It is the equation number 1. Now let us integrate it one by one. First integrate After first integration with respect to x, we obtain dt by dx equal to, on right hand side, minus q bar by k into x plus constant of integration c1. Okay, so equation number 2. Then again we will integrate it with respect to x, so that temperature T will be freed from the differential form. So dt by dx after integration we get T is equal to, on right hand side, q bar by k will be the constant because q bar is constant at the under steady state heat generation is at the same rate, and k being the material property is also physical constant. So q bar by k, that is rather minus q bar by k, are constants. So integration of x will be x square by 2. That is why this term is coming here, minus q bar by 2k into x square plus c1 into x plus another constant c2 for this second integration. So this is the general form of general equation for a temperature distribution is given like this. Okay, so equation number 3 is the general equation with constant c1 and c2. Now we have to find out constant values c1 and c2 by applying proper boundary conditions. When we properly apply the boundary conditions, we can easily find the values of c1 and c2. Now what we know from boundary condition at the boundary conditions are as below. That is at left surface wall, that is at x equal to 0, we know that uh, the whatever is the amount of heat conducted through the wall at the surface will be the heat transfer rate by convection on the fluid side. So q1 is equal to rate of heat conduction will equal to rate of heat convection. Okay, so we can equate both the heat transfer rates by conduction and convection as below. So rate of heat conduction will be given by Fourier's law. It will be minus Ka dt by dx at x equal to 0. Okay, uh, now here you see uh, there is a positive sign. The positive sign is coming here. The reason being as given here, uh, at x equal to 0, heat is flowing in opposite direction. At x equal to 0, heat is flowing in opposite direction. That is in opposite direction of positive x. Okay, and uh, as uh, as we can see here, as temperature decreases from right to left as x moves in negative direction. Okay, so dt is negative and dx is also negative, so ratio turns to be positive. So overall ratio will turn to positive. So dt is negative, dx is also negative. So dt by dx, the ratio will also will turn to positive. That is why this plus sign is coming in this equation. Okay, to understand it more, you have to go back to the diagram. Now see, in this diagram, at this phase, uh, x is increasing from left to right. X is increasing from left to right. So it is its positive direction. Positive direction is from left to right. But heat transfer rate q1 by conduction is happening in the opposite direction. That is, it is going from right to left. It is going from right to left. No doubts, temperature is decreasing. in this direction. Some maximum temperature will be inside the wall, and as we move from the inner region to the left face, the temperature is decreasing. So if you take the temperature difference in the left side direction, so it will be negative, but x is the distance is also decreasing in the left direction, so it will also be the negative. It is also coming with negative sign. That is why dt is negative and dx is also negative. Negative uh, ratio turns to be positive. Okay, so that is why this positive sign is there. Otherwise, you normally see it is to be with negative sign, that is minus ka dt by dx. Okay, but that is not the case here, because of the reverse direction of heat transfer. Okay, so plus ka dt by dx at x equal to 0 is equal to rate of heat convection. It is ha into delta t, that is h1 into area into temperature at x equal to 0 minus tf1. Okay, so temperature difference on left hand side we have to take it like this: temperature at the left face minus temperature of the fluid at left face. Okay, now area is common for both conduction and convection, so will get cancelled out. So what remains is only this. Okay, now we have to put in the values of dt by dx at x equal to 0 and temperature at x equal to 0. Okay, using the proper equations and boundary conditions. Okay, so at x equal to 0 we can find out the value of dt by dx. So dt by dx equation we know from equation 2. Equation 2 is this: dt by dx is minus q bar by k into x plus c1. If you put x equal to 0, this term will be 0, and what remains is dt by dx at x equal to 0 is equal to c1. Okay, so value of dt by dx at x equal to 0 is c1. So this way we get equation number 4. Then for temperature at x equal to 0, we have to use the equation number 3. So t equal to this general equation. Now we have to put x equal to 0 in this expression. So this becomes 0, this becomes 0. What remains is C2. What remains is C2. Okay. So when you put x equal to 0, we get T at x equal to 0, which is nothing but the wall temperature at left face, that is TW1 is equal to C2. Okay. So C1 is obtained like this, and sorry, dt by dx at x equal to 0 is obtained in terms of C1 in equation 4, and temperature at the wall TW1 is obtained in the form of C2. Okay, so we'll replace these values in this equation number 3. So dt by dx at x equal to 0 will be replaced by C1. So let us insert C1 uh, in this term, and T at temperature at x equal to 0 will be C2. Okay, so that is why we get K A get cancelled out. K into plus C1 is equal to H1 into, in place of TW1 we will put C2. C2 is inserted here. C2 minus TF1. Okay, so from this we get some relation between C1 and C2. C1 and C2. So from this we can write for C2 as TF1 plus TF1 plus K upon H1 into C1. Okay, this is just simple algebra. We have to just rearrange the terms, and we get C2 in the form of C1. So there is a relationship between C2 and C1. Let us call it equation number 6. Now we will try to find one of the constants, either C1 or C2, by using proper equations. Okay. Now let us see what is happening at the right surface. Okay, that is right surface means x equal to b. Okay, at x equal to b. So the same boundary condition we will apply as we did for left face. Okay, if you go back to the diagram, what is happening at the left face? Some heat is being conducted out, that is q1 from the wall, and it is being lost by convection to the fluid. The same will happen here. Heat transfer rate q2 is being conducted out of the wall, and it will be carried away by the convection. It will be carried away by the convection on account of fluid which is at temperature tf2 and heat transfer coefficient h2. Okay, so the boundary condition type is same, only the terms will be the different. Okay, now the rate of heat conduction at right phase at x equal to b is equal to rate of heat convection on right hand side. Now we can write the Fourier form as usual, that is minus k dt by dx at x equal to b. In this uh, now in this case there is a negative sign. We are maintaining negative sign because the uh, heat transfer direction is in the same direction as x is increasing. Okay, in the direction of positive x. Okay, so this is usual direction. In earlier case, we took it positive because heat transfer was in the opposite direction. Okay, so minus K dt by dx at x equal to b is equal to, for convection, H2 into area into temperature at the wall, that is x at T at x equal to b minus Tf2. Okay, again what we have to do, is we have to find out some suitable replacement for dt by dx at x equal to b and temperature at x equal to b. Okay, so dt by dx at x equal to b is equal to minus q bar by b, uh, sorry, minus q bar into b by k plus c1. This is equation 8. In the same way, temperature at x equal to b, which is nothing but the wall surface temperature Tw2 on right hand side, is equal to minus q bar b square upon 2k plus c1b plus c2. Here you see there is nothing getting cancelled out. No cancellation is possible because we are putting x equal to some finite value b. Okay. Earlier it was made simpler because of x equal to 0. As we put in x equal to 0, some of the terms easily got cancelled out. Okay, but now it is not so possible. That is why we are getting such a large terms. Okay, so so these uh, so these large terms we have to replace them in the basic equation. So minus Ka dt by dx at x equal to b, this will be replaced by equation number 8. That is, in place of this, we will put in this bracket. And for right hand side, h2 into a into t at x equal to b, which is tw2, will be replaced by this entire bracket, which contains three terms. Okay. So area being common get cancelled out. So we have to do some steps of algebra, and from this we get constant C2 of containing so many terms. Okay, it is containing about 5 terms. Okay, so C2 is equal to q bar b upon h2 minus k into c1 by h2 plus q bar b square by 2k minus c1b plus tf2. Let us call it equation number 10. Now we have obtained constant value C2. Okay, now this is one equation for C2, and earlier we also obtained another equation for C1, C2. C2 is equal to this. This is equation 6. In the same fashion, we are getting another equation for C2 uh, in this form. So we can equate equation number 6 and 10 together. Okay, so that we can get expression for C1. Okay, so same is done here. So equation, putting C2 in equation 6, that is equation 6 in equation 10. So again we have to go on evaluating this. We have to solve this large algebraic equation, and finally we get for C1. Okay, we combine some common terms together and take some common terms and out, and we cancel out some of the terms. Okay, and then we finally get C1 equal to, in this form. In numerator we have this large bracket, and denominator again it is having uh, this large expression. Okay, so C1 equal to, in numerator we have q bar b upon h2 plus q bar b square upon 2k plus tf2 minus tf1 divided by, in the denominator we have sum of k by h1 plus k by h2 plus b. Okay, so this is very large value of C1, or a large expression of C1. In the same way we can obtain for C2. If we put this C1 in the expression of C2, we can easily get similar expression for C2. Okay, so C2 is this Tf1 plus K upon H1. In place of C1, we have to put in the recent equation, that is equation number I think 11. Okay, so in this way uh, we can obtain the exact values of constant C1 and C2, and we can put them back in the general equation of temperature, and thereby we can easily find the general uh, distribution of temperature profile for a given case. Okay, now we are interested to find the position at which maximum temperature appears. Okay, because this is again asymmetric case, that is uh, this case is not a symmetric one. So if you go back to the diagram, you will understand this. Okay, so there is internal heat generation. As temperatures are not maintained constant on either side, what will happen, the maximum temperature will appear within the wall, but it will not be at the center. Okay, in the simpler case, in the very first standard case, we had taken the same condition on both sides, so there was a symmetry maintained. Because of that symmetry, we could easily predict that the temperature, maximum temperature, will be at the center, at the center plane or at the midpoint. Okay, but that is not the case here because of different temperatures. Okay, so we do not know exactly where the maximum temperature will appear. Okay, we do not know the position uh, position within this wall, and we also do not know the maximum value of temperature. Okay, so for that matter, uh, we can apply the mathematical condition of dt by dx equal to 0, and then we can find out the position, exact position of xm, that is the exact position of maximum temperature. So let's say xm is a position at which maximum temperature appears. So T temperature will be maximum, that is T max, at when x equal to xm. So dt by dx at x equal to xm will be 0. Okay. So then we have relation for dt by dx. Let us put x equal to xm in that, and thereby equate to 0. So in this equation, left hand side becomes 0 is equal to right hand side. We have minus q bar by k. In place of x, we are putting xm into xm plus c1. So left hand is 0. So from this, xm can be given as, again we have constant c1 constant we have found, and this is very large expression. It is inserted in place of c1. Then xm equal to, uh, when we solve this for xm, we get xm equal to k upon q bar into very large bracket containing all these terms, so I will not repeat them, divided by this bracket, that is k by h1 plus k by h2 plus p. Okay, so when you put all the known constants k, q bar, b, h1, h2, tf1, tf2, uh, okay, all those values, when you put in, you will exactly find the value of value of xm, that is the position from the left face at which temperature T max will appear. Okay, and using this xm value in the formula of temperature, we can obtain maximum temperature T max equal to minus q bar by 2k xm square. In place of x, we will put this xm, so xm square plus c1 into xm plus c2. Okay, we are not writing c1 and c2 in in this form because c1 and c2 are very large. They are having very large expressions, and it becomes very cumbersome to write them again and again. Okay, so we simply put c1 and c2. So whenever it is required, we will so we will write for c1 and c2 only when it is required. Otherwise, there is no point in wasting time writing it again and again. We have anyway found out values of c1 and c2 uh, in in some relations. Okay, and we can use them whenever it is just required. Okay, then wall surface temperatures at x equal to 0, it is tw1. So tw1 is nothing but value of c2, constant c2. Okay, so tw1 will be equal to c2 is equal to tf1 plus k by h1 into c1. And we can in the same way we can find Tw2 at x equal to b, that is at right phase. Okay. Use the same equation of temperature and just put in the values. Okay, so in place of x, you put b, so q bar minus q bar by 2k into b square plus c1 into b plus c2. Okay, so in this way we can find the wall temperatures at both sides, the maximum temperature, and also we can find the position at which a maximum temperature appears. Okay, now let us solve one problem based on the same case. So I will first read out the problem statement. In a thick infinite slab of 20 centimeter thickness, temperature of fluid on one side is 30 degrees Celsius and 20 degrees Celsius on the other side. Heat transfer coefficient on hot side is 20 watt per meter square Kelvin and that on cold side is 40 watt per meter square Kelvin. Conductivity of slab material is 20 watt per meter Kelvin. Heat is generated in the slab at the uniform rate of 5 kilowatt per meter cube. Then we have to find these many quantities. Number one is derive an expression for temperature distribution in the slab. Number two, maximum temperature, find maximum temperature and its location in the slab. Number three, find surface wall temperatures and the center temperature. Number four, calculate heat transfer rate at each surface. Okay, this is going to be a large, very large problem. Okay, so this is a given in the problem is infinite slab of thickness 20 centimeter. Thickness is mentioned, and there is internal heat generation at the rate of 5 kilowatt per meter cube. Okay, fluid temperature on one side is 30 and other side is 20. Okay, so it is obviously the case of different fluid temperatures on both sides. Then heat transfer coefficients are also given. On hot side it is 20, and on cold side it is 40. So the hot side will be the temperature will be the side having high temperature, that is 30 degrees Celsius, and cold side will be having the temperature of 20 degrees Celsius. Okay, the conductivity material is also given for slab. It is 20 watt per meter Kelvin. So all the necessary inputs are given. Now we have to proceed for the mathematical process. Okay, so in this way we can sketch the given diagram, given case. This is a plain wall with thickness B as 20 centimeter. In meters, it will be zero point 0.2 meter. Then on one side, let us say wall temperature is Tw1. On other side, let us say Tw2. And Q1 is the heat being lost or being transferred on left face. Q2 on the right face. Tf1, let us say 30 degrees Celsius. So H1 is 20 watt per meter square Kelvin. And on right side, Tf2 is 20 degrees Celsius and H2 is 40 watt per meter square Kelvin. Then internal heat generation Q bar is per meter cube. It is 5 kilowatt. In SI unit, it is 5000 watt per meter cube. Okay. So now we have to first derive the expression for temperature distribution. Okay. Now see, if you have as you can observe that uh, for last two lectures we have been discussing about the internal heat generation problems. If you look at the nature of the problem, that you'll get that idea that every problem is a unique one. Okay, every problem is very unique, and every problem demands a separate derivation. Okay, whenever you are going to solve such type of a problem, you have to take on the derivation in a fresh way, in a fresh manner. Okay, so no doubt in every case we are repeating the same steps, same mathematical process, such as uh, putting up the second order differential equation, then applying proper conditions, then integrating it twice, and applying the constants, and to solve to solve those constants, so get their values, we have to apply boundary conditions. Okay, so this has been the theme of solving such type of problems. Okay, so if you keenly look at the type of these problems, every problem is like a derivation. Every problem is like a derivation itself. Okay, so even so for such type of a problems, there is no any direct formula in which you can directly put in the values and directly get the final answer. This is not going to be this is that will not happen in this case. Okay, every case is different, and for every case you have to go through the derivation, and by process of derivation you will obtain different formula for different case. Okay, for every case you are going to get a different formula. Okay, so that is why you have to do all those mathematical steps, or all those steps in derivation, like solving the differential equation. Okay, so for this problem, in the solution I have not shown all those steps. I have directly taken the result. I have directly taken the result of derivation. That's why it is written, uh, a note is written that refer to previous case derivation. Okay, refer to previous case derivation. From that derivation you will get this result. Okay, you are going to get this result, that is temperature distribution. So it will be T equal to minus q bar into x square by 2k plus c1x plus c2. Okay, now the task will be to get exact values of c1 and c2. Exact values of c1 and c2. Okay, those were also obtained through the process of derivation, and those can be put in like this. So temperature T will be very large expression. It is having so many terms in it. Okay, so now for simplicity, we can find C1 and C2 respect separately. Okay, instead of putting all the values together in such a large formula, it may lead up to some confusion. Okay, so to avoid that confusion and mistakes, we can handle separately. Okay, so this term is actually C1, because this whole bracket multiplied by x, so this is C1. And this bottom term, these three terms, that is tf1 and k by h1 into this whole entire bracket, is actually C2. So we handle, or we will treat them in a separate manner. First we will find only this bracket, then we will go to evaluate value of C2. Okay, so C1 is this, we have taken down again. Now we will directly put in the values. Okay, so C1 equal to q bar, in SI units it will be 5000 watt per meter cube, into B, thickness is 2 centimeter, so it is 20 centimeter, so in meters it is zero point 0.2 meters, divided by H2 is 40 watt per meter square Kelvin, given in SI units. Okay, then plus q bar b square by 2k. So q bar is 5000, b square is zero point 0.2, so zero point 0.2 square divided by 2 into k is 20. Then tf2 is 20 and tf1 is 30. So those are put in. Then in the denominator we again have three terms: 20 by k by h1, so 20 by 20, plus k by h2, that is 20 by 40, plus b, again it is zero point 0.2. So when you put in all the values and calculate, so you get C1 equal to 11.76. 11.76. Then C2 is TF1 plus K by H1 into C1. Okay, so you simply put TF1 as 30, K is 20, and H1 is also 20. Into C1 we have just found 11.76, put in here, you get C2 as 41.76. C1, C2 are obtained, we can put them easily in the general equation of temperature. So T is equal to minus q bar x square by 2k plus C1 is 11.76, so 11.76 into x, plus C2 is 41.76, just we have calculated. So this is the answer number 1. This is the answer number 1, where we have exactly found out the values of C1 and C2. Okay. Now using equation 14, this is actually coming from the derivation. For this matter, you have to do the complete derivation, that you will get this relation. So T max, that is, we have to find out the maximum temperature. So T max is equal to, given in this form. But uh, before directly putting in the values, we have to first find out the value of xm. We have to first find out the value of xm. Now to find value of xm, again we have to use the condition dt by dx at at xm equal to 0. At xm equal to 0. Okay, when we do this, we get xm. in this form: xm equal to c1 into k by q bar. C1 we have obtained 11.76 into K given 20 and Q bar is 5000. So XM is 0.0547 meters or 4.7 centimeters. So this is the position in the wall from the left side, uh, at which temperature will be maximum. At which temperature will be maximum. So now put this XM in temperature to find out the T max. When you put this for xm at 0.047, so you get, calculate this, you get T max equal to 42.036 degrees Celsius. So this is the position of maximum temperature, and this is the value of maximum temperature. So this occurs at 4.7 centimeters distance from the left face. Okay. Entire thickness is 20 centimeter, and for about, from the left face, for at 4.7 centimeter the maximum temperature is occurring. Okay. Then we have to now find out the wall temperatures, that is at x equal to 0 and at the right face at x equal to b. So when you put the values in temperature equation, you get Tw1 is equal to C2. So C2 is nothing but 41.76 degrees Celsius. So this is left face temperature. Then for right face Tw2, put x equal to b, that is 20 centimeter or zero point 0.2 meter, you get the Tw2 equal to 39.11 degrees Celsius. So both wall temperatures are obtained and both are different. It is evident. Okay, it is 41.76 here and here 39.11. Okay, so Tw2 slightly lesser than Tw1. Okay, now at the center of the slab, at the center of the slab, so x equal to b by 2. B is 20, so b by 2 is 10 centimeter, that is zero point 0.1 meter. You put again, use the same general equation of temperature. You get T equal to 41.68 degrees Celsius. Again, these values are coming very close to each other. Okay, because of high conductivity as well as the temperatures are maintained in such a way. Okay. Now, for the last one, that is heat transfer rate at the left face and the right face. Okay, at the left face it is q1 equal to plus ka dt by dx at x equal to 0. This is we are doing because dt by dx is positive. Okay. Now dt by dx at x equal to 0, from the derivation we know this is nothing but value of c1. This is nothing but value of c1. So simply put c1 here. So c1 into 20, that is k, you get 235.2 watt per meter square. Okay, now as area is not given, so we'll assume it to be 1 meter square. So q1 by a is 235 watt, 235.2 watt per meter square. Then heat transfer rate at the right face, it is minus Ka dt by dx at x equal to b. This value also we know from derivation, minus in bracket, that is minus q bar b by k into c1. We know the all values q bar b, c1 and k, so you can directly put in and calculate. It comes with positive sign. So q2 by a equal to 764.8 watt per meter square. Okay, this term actually q by a is actually known as heat flux. Okay, it is the heat transfer rate per unit area. Okay, a special term called a heat flux is generally used to define this term or to denote this term. Okay, heat flux is heat transfer rate per unit area or per meter square area. Okay. Heat transfer is only watt. Heat transfer rate, its unit is only watt, but for heat flux it is always watt per meter square. It is always per unit area, that is per meter square. So it is 764.8 watt per meter square. Okay, so on right face this value and on left face we got 235. Okay, so if you add them together you will get the total heat generation per meter square. Okay, so from the values that we have obtained we can draw a simple graph, or so that in a pictorial way we get some idea. So T max is appearing, which is very close to the left face at the 4.7 centimeter, because the uh, full width is 20 centimeter or full thickness is 20 centimeter. Midpoint is at 10 centimeter, but maximum is not appearing here. Maximum is not appearing here, but it is closer to the left face because it is coming at 4.7 centimeter. So almost at the one fourth distance, at one fourth distance from the left face, T max is appearing, and temperature is then going down and down towards the right face, towards the right face. Okay, so these are relative values that we can show. T max is 42.036. On left it is 41.76, on right it is lowest, that is 39.11, and at the midpoint it is, I think, very close to 41 point this value. Okay, just we had found out in some at some stages of the calculation. Okay, then TF130 and TF220, and these are the heat transfer rates on either side. Okay, so this way we complete all the cases, all the at least all the possible cases for heat generation for a plain wall. Okay, the simple case was the same temperature on both sides. Then another second case was different wall temperatures, and the third case was both side different fluid temperatures as well as different wall temperatures. Okay, so uh, uh, all the conditions we have now covered. Okay, now we will move on to next case. It is also case of internal heat generation, but only the geometry will now change. Okay, now we are going to the cylindrical geometry or a pipe like or a tube like structure. Okay, plain wall cases are now over. We will now discuss the internal heat generation and the steady state for uh, for a cylindrical geometry. Okay, so as you can read on the screen, just a second. Okay, this is actually a type of problem as well as it is a general derivation. Okay, write a general conduction equation in cylindrical coordinates and hence derive relation for temperature distribution in a long hollow cylinder with heat generation rate q gen with inside and outside temperatures as Ti and To respectively. Take Ri and Ro as inside and outside radii respectively. Okay. In a simple standard case that we have covered in the on the first day was solid cylinder, was the case of solid cylinder. Okay, solid cylinder means there will not be any inner part or inner radius. Only there will be one radius, that is outer radius. Okay, and uh, since it was a solid cylinder, so entire thing is filled with the solid material. But in this case, we are given a geometry of hollow cylinder. Okay, hollow cylinder is like a hollow pipe or hollow tube having some thickness. Okay, so inside there is no any solid material. So there is a okay, there is some gap between this and this. Okay, so this is there is no any solid material, so it is completely blank or it is empty at the center. So whatever heat generation takes place, that will be in this hatched region. As you can see in the diagram, this hatch portion is for solid material, that is the thickness of the solid cylinder, hollow cylinder, thickness of the hollow cylinder or hollow pipe or hollow tube. Okay, so heat generation will happen only in this thickness from in the region from Ri to Ro. So uh, the position at which the maximum temperature will appear at, it will be in between Ri and Ro. Ri and Ro. Ro is inner radius, Ro is outer radius. Okay. Now in this case, temperatures are given. Inner wall temperature is given Ti and outer wall temperature is given Tu. Okay. Now we have to write the general equation, and from that we have to derive the equation for temperature distribution for this given case. Okay, for this given case, let us consider this hollow long cylinder. Let us look at the cross section as shown in the diagram. This is the cross section. uh, Let q bar be the rate of internal heat generation per unit volume of this hollow cylinder. Then K, thermal conductivity of cylindrical material, solid cylindrical material. Then Ri, inner radius, Ro, outer radius, already told. Ti, To, inner and outer temperatures at Ri and Ro. Okay. Now, as this is a cylindrical geometry, we have to take the general equation from the cylindrical form. So it is 1 upon r dabba by dabba r of r dabba t by dabba r plus 1 upon r square dabba square t by dabba theta square plus dabba square t by dabba z square plus q bar by k equal to 1 upon alpha dabba t by dabba t. So this represents the general case of heat diffusion equation or heat conduction equation. All three directions are considered. This is in radial direction, this gradient is in angular theta direction, and this is in axial direction. This is in axial z direction. There is internal heat generation, so this term is there. And as it is a general case, we are also assuming that temperatures will change with respect to time. Temperatures will change with respect to time. So all possibilities are considered. That is why it is said as generalized differential equation in cylindrical coordinates. Okay, generalized differential equation of heat conduction in cylindrical coordinates. For now, for steady state, what will happen? This right term will turn to zero. The right term will become zero because temperatures will not change with respect to time. So dt by dt will be zero, but there is an internal heat generation, so this term will remain q bar by k, this term will remain. Now we are considering only one dimensional case, that is heat transfer in radial direction. So these two terms get drop out. Okay, there is no temperature gradient in theta direction as well as in z direction, so these two terms get drop out. So in all, we cancel out this term and right hand side term, so we are left with only this equation, that is 1D Poisson's equation for a cylindrical case. 1 upon r into dabba by dabba r of r dabba t by dabba r plus q bar by k equal to 0. Okay, now we have to solve this in a usual manner. Okay, we will first integrate, then again another integration, then we get the constant c1 and c2, then we can go for boundary conditions. Okay, so all this is very common, so I'm not repeating these steps. So the after integrating, we get temperature in this form: T equal to minus q bar r square upon 4k plus c1 into log of r plus c2. Okay, this is log to the base e of r. It is sometimes it can also be written as ln. In place of log e, you can also write ln of r. Okay, now, to find out C1 and C2, we can apply the boundary conditions. So, we know two temperature conditions at the boundary. So, one is at inner radius Ri, temperature is Ti, and the other at radius Ro, temperature is Tu. So, at Ri, temperature is Ti, and Ro, temperature is Tu. Okay. Let us put these boundary conditions in this equation 3. So after putting, we get, so T will become Ti is equal to minus q bar by 4k into Ri square. In place of wherever there is a R, we will put Ri. Okay, so Ri square plus C1 into log of Ri plus C2. The same way for Ro, we will do it for Ro. Temperature will become To. So To equal to same equation, only the difference is R replaced by Ro. R replaced by Ro. Now we will solve. We have got two equations and two unknowns, that is C1 and C2 are the unknowns. So we'll solve them simultaneously. So we get, now we'll take the difference. So Ti minus To on left side, and on right side C2 will get cancelled out. So what remains is uh, Ti minus To equal to q bar by 4k into Ro square minus Ri square plus C1 into log of Ri by Ro. Actually, this is log Ri minus log Ro, but using the rule of logarithm, we can write it in the form of ratio. Okay, equation number 6. Now, now onwards, now again rearranging this term for constant C1, we get C1 equal to Ti minus To equal to Ti minus To minus q bar by 4k into bracket Ro square minus Ri square divided by log of Ri by Ro. So call it equation number 7. Now put this C1 in equation 4. Equation 4 is Ti equal to minus q bar by 4k into Ri square plus C1 into log of Ri plus C2. Okay. Now for this C1 we will place this big expression. Okay, we can replace C1 with this big expression so that we can get up to C2. Okay, so we can find the value of C2. The same is done here. C2 equal to by uh, by algebraic operations and simply rearranging the terms, we get C2 equal to Ti plus in bracket q bar by 4k into Ri square minus in this whole bracket Ti minus To minus 4 q bar by 4k into Ro square minus Ri square divided by log of Ri by Ro. This entire square bracket multiplied by log of Ri. Okay. Now this is equation number 8. Now we can put equation 7 and equation 8 in equation 3. Equation 3 is the general expression for temperature. So when we put C values C1 and C2 obtained from equation 7 and 8, we get this very long and very large expression for temperature T. Okay. Again, we can go on simplifying further by rearranging the terms and cancelling out unnecessary terms. We get temperature in final form like this: T equal to Ti minus this q bar by q 4k into r square minus Ri square plus this whole bracket into log of Ri by Ro. Okay. So this is the relation for temperature distribution in a long hollow cylinder with internal heat generation. So this is a general derivation. uh, you know, on the same basis we can go to solve the same type of a problem. Okay. I know we are already past 2:30, but I want to extend it further up to 3 p.m. For about 15 to 20 minutes, so that we will complete the entire our study of internal heat generation. Only this problem is remaining. We will cover up this very quickly, and then we will complete our study of internal heat generation. Okay. So this is the last problem of this type. Uh, a long hollow cylinder has inner and outer radius as 5 centimeter and 15 centimeter respectively. It generates heat at the rate of 1 kilowatt per meter cube. K is given zero point 0.5 watt per meter Kelvin. If maximum temperature occurs at the radius of 10 centimeter and temperature of outer surface is 50 degrees Celsius, find number 1 temperature at inner surface, that is Ti, and second maximum temperature in the cylinder, that is Tmax. Okay. So this problem is based on the same derivation uh, that we have just completed for the case of internal heat generation for the case of internal heat generation under steady state for long hollow cylinder. Okay, so problem is based on the same theory. Uh, Now we are given some values: inner radius 5 centimeter, outer radius 15 centimeter, and heat generation rate is 1 kilowatt per meter cube. So in SI unit it will be 1000 watt per meter cube. Conductivity K of cylinder material is given zero point 0.5 watt per meter Kelvin, and it is said that maximum temperature occurs at the radius of 10 centimeter. So position of maximum temperature is given. Okay, and so we are to find a maximum temperature in the cylinder. So position is already anyway given. We have to use this value of radius to find maximum temperature, and also we have to find out inner surface temperature. Outer surface temperature is 50 degrees Celsius. So all the required inputs are given. Now only we have to use them properly, okay, to get to the required solution. Okay. Again, all the derivation steps of previous case are not repeated here. So that's why the in the solution note is given refer to previous derivation of the hollow cylinder. Okay. So while solving this problem, you have to do all the steps that just we have seen for the entire general derivation. Okay. Then we will directly use the relation. So this is going to be the diagram. Ri. RO and some radius Rm where maximum temperature occurs or appears. Okay, inside it is Ti, outside it is To. Okay, then we are given the values of Ri, Ro, and To, and also Rm is given. Now we know that T at any radius r is given by this very long expression. Okay, this actually comes from the derivation. Uh, okay, as I little time ago I said that every problem is like a derivation in itself. Okay, while solving such type of a problem, you have to go through the process of derivation, general derivation. This exercise we are doing because you see the the formula are so complicated and so big, and every case is having its own different formula, and you cannot remember such a long formulae for each and every case. Okay, there are in all more than 10 to 12 different cases, and in every case the formula are very large. Okay, so it is not so possible, or it is not so easy for you to remember all those formulae for temperature as well as for heat distribution. So better, so what we can remember is we can remember the steps involved in the derivation. Okay, the process of derivation we can easily adopt, and from that general process of derivation we can easily get to any required quantity. Okay, but if you have to remember this, that will be very difficult task. Okay, and it is not guaranteed that you will remember it correctly. Okay, so to avoid that, to avoid that kind of a headache, what we do is generally we go for a process of derivation. Okay, and it is very easy to understand and as well as remember the steps of derivation. Okay, the process of derivation is very common. The format is very common. Okay, so this is the temperature distribution we get from the derivation. Now in this we are given this input data from the problem. We can insert it wherever it is required, and then we can get to the solution. Okay, now we know that maximum temperature appears at the Rm, and for this condition is dT by dr at Rm equal to 0. Okay, at Rm equal to 0. So from the derivation itself we can write dT by dr equal to minus q bar r upon 2k plus c1 upon r. The right hand is left hand side is 0. So from this we get Rm. Uh, okay, we get this equation, that is Rm square equal to C1 into 2k upon q bar. Okay, now we are given the value of Rm. We can put in the remaining values, then we can easily find T max. Okay, so C1 equal to q bar into Rm square upon 2k. So C1 value can be obtained. Q bar is 1000, Rm is given, that is 10 centimeters, so it is zero point 0.1 meters, zero point 0.1 meter, so zero point 0.1 square divided by 2k. 2 into k given, it is zero point 0.5. So C1 is 10. So C1 one constant is obtained using the second boundary condition, that is at R equal to RO and temperature T is equal to TO 50 degrees Celsius. We can put this C1 and this boundary condition values in the equation of temperature. So we get TO equal to this. Then from this we can easily get to C2. So C2 is solved like this. C2 equal to 80.22. So both C1 and C2 now are obtained. So the particular equation we can write like T equal to minus q bar r square upon 4k plus 10 into ln of r. This 10 is nothing but C1. C1 is replaced by 10 and C2 is 80.22. So this is added here. Okay, so C2 is 80.22. Now at R equal to Ri, now we can easily find out temperature Ti. Okay, Ri we know, that is 5 centimeter, and in this equation we have to only put R equal to 0.05, and rest of the other values are known. So we can directly get, after calculation we get Ti equal to 49.01 degrees Celsius. So we found out the both required quantities, that is inside surface temperature as well as the maximum temperature appearing at Rm 10 centimeter. So solution is like this: inner surface temperature 49.01 degrees Celsius and maximum temperature is 52.2 degrees Celsius. So graphically we can show like this. This is just to make you realize, or just for our understanding, that in inner temperature is 49, maximum is 52, and outer is 50. Okay, so where these are very close to each other because of, I think, very small thickness of this cylinder. Okay, so with this problem, we have completed our entire study of various cases of heat transfer problems with the condition of steady state and internal heat generation with internal heat generation. Okay, now uh, having completed this, we will now discuss uh, some part of uh, that is boundary conditions and initial conditions. You might have observed that while dealing with this uh, while dealing with the case of internal heat generation, we had to make use of various boundary conditions for every case. There were different boundary conditions. Okay, and we made use of them to find the constants in the general differential equations. Okay, so at some places we used temperature boundary conditions, and at some other cases we used the heat transfer rate type of boundary conditions. And also, to find out the maximum value of temperature, we use the conditions such as dt by dx equal to 0. Okay, so all these are various boundary conditions. Now, in a theoretical manner, we will cover them. Okay, so as you can see on your screen, it is actually a PDF book of author named as Incropera and David. Okay, this copy is available on internet. You can easily find it and also download it. And anyway, I'm going to make it available for you on Google Classroom. Okay, Google Classroom, you will find all these copies. So, boundary and initial condition: to determine the temperature distribution in a medium, it is necessary to solve the some proper equations of heat transfer. And to solve these partial differential equations, we need some boundary conditions. Okay, so if you look at this table will give us the all types of boundary conditions, and it is summarizing and also giving it's also giving us the in a graphical manner to for our understanding. Okay, so first condition is constant temperature boundary condition or prescribed boundary condition. Okay, let us say there is some surface and its temperature is known or it is prescribed as Ts. Okay, so and this is the first type of a boundary condition. Okay, so constant wall surface temperature is one type of a boundary condition. Second boundary condition is this, that is uh, constant heat flux boundary condition. Constant heat flux boundary condition. So it will be given like this: minus k dt by dx. This is by Fourier's law at x equal to 0, means at this phase, is equal to q double dash, that is heat flux. Okay, area term is missing because uh, we are dealing in heat flux terms. As I as I said to you, that heat flux means heat transfer per unit area. When you divide heat transfer quantity by area, heat transfer rate quantity by area, it is denoted as heat flux. It is called as heat flux. Okay, so this is given by Fourier's law at this phase where dt by dx at x equal to 0 must be known. Okay, so minus k dt by dx is equal to heat transfer rate or heat flux at the boundary. Same way we have adiabatic or insulated surface condition, where adiabatic means there is no heat transfer, no heat transfer allowed or not possible, and this case is given by dt by dx at x equal to 0 equal to 0. Okay, we are calling x equal to 0 means this face shown in the diagram is treated as at is treated at the origin, so at x equal to 0 we are calling it as x equal to 0. Okay, so temperature gradient at this location is 0. So this means adiabatic condition or insulated surface. So for perfect insulation or perfect adiabatic condition, heat transfer rate will be 0, thereby heat flux will be 0. Same condition we have also used to find out the maximum temperature for various problems throughout. Okay, so this condition, that is dt by dx equal to 0, is also used to find maximum temperature, and in some cases, some rare cases, we also use it to find minimum temperature, because this mathematically this indicates either condition of maxima or minima. But generally in our cases, we usually get it, we usually find this to be a condition of maximum. Okay, so to find the maximum temperature, value of maximum temperature, as well as position of maximum temperature, we normally use this boundary condition. Okay, and the last one is convection surface condition. That is this type of boundary condition we have used to find out the rate of heat transfer. Here it is said there is some fluid in contact with the solid. This is solid material, so rate of heat at the boundary, at the interface between fluid and the solid, uh, rate of heat conduction is equal to rate of heat convection. Okay, so heat which is coming out of the uh, wall, solid wall, by conduction is equal to the rate is equal to the heat carried away by the fluid by convection. Okay, so this type of boundary condition we have also used in various at the appropriate places in the in various cases of derivation. Okay, in various cases of derivation. So here we equate like this: minus k dt by dx is equal to ha into delta t, ha into delta t. A being common on both sides, it is missing from this equation. Okay, and last case is also like a radiative heat flux condition that is not shown in this book or in this diagram, but it can also be used in such cases. In place of convection, it will be replaced by radiation heat transfer rate or radiation heat flux rate. Okay, so that will be the only addition here that is not shown in the diagram, but we have to account for it. Okay, so in this way we complete the theory part of boundary conditions. One more thing, initial conditions. There is one more condition which is termed as initial conditions. Uh, all these boundary conditions, whatever we discuss from this table, are mostly applicable for steady state heat transfer case. And when there is a unsteady state heat transfer that we are going to discuss in the subsequent chapters, uh, for that matter, the initial boundary condition we have to use. It means that initially either we have to specify the temperature or we have to assume the heat transfer rate. Okay, so that term will be like dt by dt, that is rate of change of temperature with respect to time. Okay, so in this way we complete this theory part of boundary conditions. One more small part is remaining. Just uh, please give me some 5 to 10 minutes, so we'll complete it out. One more part is remaining, that is contact resistance. Just a minute, I will go back. We'll go to that page. We have completed our uh, study of electrical analogy with heat transfer. In that we saw how the electrical resistance can be used to model the heat transfer case, and we can replace the electrical resistance as a thermal resistance, and electrical potential difference as a temperature difference, and electrical current as a heat flow. Okay, all being analogous to each other. Using that electrical analogy, we have discussed many cases such as resistances in series, resistances in parallel, and then we went on to extend that theory to define a new term called overall heat transfer coefficient. Then again, also we covered a part of critical radius of insulation and critical insulation thickness. Okay, so with the help of that electrical analogy, we have developed many equations and many terms. Okay, in the same fashion, there is one more term left to be discussed is contact resistance. Contact resistance. For this matter, let me show you diagram. Okay, now you see this diagram. I will make it large. Okay, now first look at this left part. Left part. Let us say there are two plates A and B, flat plates, and are connected to each other. Okay, are contacting at this common interface. Okay, from distance it looks like that both are perfectly flat. Both are perfectly flat. But if you look at the magnified form, if you look at very micro level, what we can find is there is no any flat plate which is perfectly flat. Okay, there are always going to be some ups and downs, some ridges and valleys at the surface level. Okay, and it will be visible if you look at the scale of nanometer or micrometer or nanometer. So some irregularities are there at the surface, and because of this there is no any perfect contact. So this is plate A and this is plate B. Okay, this is the interface, but at the interface they are not contacting each other. At some points there is direct contact, at some point there is gap. Here you can see there is a gap, clear gap. Okay, this is because both are not perfectly flat, and that is why both are not perfectly contacting with each other, and due to this there is a gap, and this gap is generally filled by some air. Okay, some air or some gas which is trapped in this gap. Okay, and because of this what happens, because of this because of this because of this what happens is there is no there is no direct solid to solid material contact, and in between there is a gap, and this gap is filled in by the air or gas. And you know that as compared to solid material, air or any other fluid or gas has very low conductivity, because of this there will be some resistance that will get developed at the interface. Okay, that will get developed and at the interface, and due to this temperature will not be common. Okay, normally we assume that the temperature at this phase for A and B will be the uniform or will be the same, but that will not be the case, and there will be certainly some temperature drop, and this temperature drop is due to the resistance offered because of this gap, these micro gaps or nano gaps. And this is termed as a contact resistance. This is termed as contact resistance, and due to this contact resistance there is certainly a drop in temperature. So Ta is on higher side, and Tb, that is temperature on B plate, is on lower side. Okay, and uh, there is some internal resistance at the interface. Okay, this is known as contact resistance. Okay, so when we are dealing with the resistances, when we are interested at such a micro level analysis, we have to account for this counter contact resistance. This can also be found using the same theory of resistances in series. Okay, so there will be additional resistance which is contact resistance in between A and B. Okay, so in all there will be three resistances, one by Ra and other by resistance by B, and third resistance at the contact. Okay, so due to this heat transfer rate will definitely reduce. Okay, so this was the point to be covered. So with this, we'll stop over today's session to discussion for today's session, and let me take your attendance. It is being downloaded and recorded. Just wait. Just wait for a few more seconds. Okay, I think it is done. Okay, thank you. You can leave now, and we will meet again tomorrow. Thank you.